Michaela, let's start today. Give me your name, company, and role.
I'm, I'm Michaela Morrison. I am currently the Chief Operating Officer at Method Insurance.
Well, thank you for being here with us today and spending a little time with us and sharing with us your experience of WAVE and what that's meant to your business. I'd like to start off with, first off, with how did you find WAVE? How did you find us?
As a young, growing company, we had a couple unique niches that we needed to fill, and it wasn't necessarily a full-time job that I wanted to invest the time and energy into finding a full-time person, not knowing if it was going to take off or not. And so when I was Googling and researching different things, and I believe even at Target Markets, I had seen a booth and found WAVE. And ever since then, which was been 2021, is when I first started doing business with WAVE, and we have had waivers on our team ever since.
Well, that's good. It is, yeah, summer 2021. That's great. Yeah, you can find us in a lot of the industry events because this is all we do, as you know. So great, and I'm glad you met us, and we're glad to be partnering with you. Compare our solution to others at the time. What's kind of separated us? What made you reach out? Said you were looking for some part-time people, this and that, but maybe even a little bit more detail on that would might be helpful.
Sure. When we started growing and we had some opportunities, I felt like we had filled or covered the segment of a certain population. So we had very young college graduates working for us. And then we went to a staffing organization locally and we said, hey, we would like somebody with this specific niche of experience. And I would like them to have a lot of experience. Specifically, we are a workers' compensation organization. We had an opportunity to expand into commercial auto. And we weren't sure if it was going to take off or not. So I didn't want to fill it with a full-time role. And I needed to fill it with somebody who had the experience because I couldn't bring that to the table. I couldn't help train them on that like I could workers' comp with a lot of the other team members. And that was one of the first times reached out to WAVE and said, hey, we have a specific niche that we really need to fill that I can't hire a young grad and train them on. I need someone coming in with the expertise and also fit the appetite of work hours that we were looking for at that time, which was we just wanted a part-time employee at that time. And I can't advertise that job and find somebody with that very specific niche in Omaha, Nebraska, where we wanted them at the time. And that is when we turned to WAVE. And really, we found that the WAVE team came in with a lot of professionalism. They had a lot of experience in the market. I think our initial WAVE person, who is still with us today, had 20 years experience in the commercial auto space that really fit that niche, not in Omaha, and that was not a problem because the technology was there. But it really was driving to find the right person for us that had the customer service skills. One of the big things we're finding with our younger generation of workers is they have a really tough time on the phone. And one of the things that we're finding with our wave or other generation of employees is they will, after an email seems confusing, pick up the phone and call. And so the speed of getting things done, the ability to speak the same language from day one with the agents and with the insureds on this has really paid off with Wave, and we have never thought about ending our relationship there.
It's great. We see that so often, and when we kind of talked at ITC, same kind of thing, right? Experience, low risk, um, people that are vintage experts work at home because you wanted the best. All makes sense. Which one thing or things kind of surprised you once you started working with us? You were looking for that. You said we're professional. Any surprises there when we started to do it, or just like, tell me your thoughts there.
Yes, absolutely. The back and forth with a person finding the right fit for us was very involved in the details of what are you looking for? What do you need? Making sure that it was a fit and that they were screened before with everything. So they knew how to do the technology side of things. This person was equipped to have the conversations. This person was equipped to talk to a carrier about the piece of business. And so bringing all that to the table honestly surprised me. And even before this, when we had needed some side projects, we worked with a company that was specifically trained, had employees, placement employees, is specifically trained on a piece of technology. And I found that to be frustrating because I knew we would be leaving that piece of technology. So I didn't want to train somebody on everything we plan to do, only to say, when we leave this technology, we can't take that person with us. Where this person could come in and they didn't care what technology it was, as long as it was online. They were trainable on it, they could learn it, they could come up with some of their own processes and really own it. And I think that's probably been the two biggest pieces were or are the two biggest pieces are the relationship that I've developed with the contractors over the years. They feel like somebody I know, and honestly, the person that's been with us since 2021 has driven into town, and I've had lunch and dinner with her and her husband over the years. So it is more than just a contractor relationship there, but also a friendship has developed out of it because I don't have that HR element to deal with. And the other more surprising thing is her ability to adapt and be flexible with everything that we need. So if we need 20 hours through the year, except 1 month where we need 40 hours, her flexibility there has been phenomenal. The communication has been wonderful, and the desire to learn. This person has formed such great relationships with our agencies and our insureds that they asked her to come to a visit that they had recently in California, and we sure did send her because she is such a good representation of our company.
Well, that's great feedback, and it always works best when they feel part of your team. And I know they do with you, and you guys have got a great culture. And that's part of that overall assessment that we do up front, is, making sure that, the waves and you guys are going to fit well together, hand in glove, right? And they're going to be basically an extension of your team. So it's beautiful how those things can work together by collaborating and communicating. And it sounds like throughout the process, you were really experiencing that good collaboration between yourself and our placement specialist. And then most importantly, then back to the candidate, which is now, like you said, feels part of your team. So, we really appreciate the way that you treat our waves because,
Absolutely, John. And one of our other placements that we have came to us. My company was acquired. And after the acquisition, we found ourselves with a lot of system conversion issues. And that was another time I came to WAHVE and said, I need help. I need help from somebody who's been through these acquisitions and has a keen accounting sense and can help us make sense of these two systems and how we tie them together. And so our second wave was a person who had bought and sold her own agencies for, oh geez, over the course of 15 years and didn't want that full-time load anymore. And so she joined us, I think 3 or 4 years ago now, and has been also a phenomenal asset in a very different segment than what our initial wave was. And so to bring her experience to the table, because I had been through some acquisitions, but not this big of one, for her to bring her experience to the table of this is what worked for this one and this isn't what worked for this one. She was having conversations with our head of accounting, and she was having conversations with the head of finance of the new company just to tie all the pieces together. So it wasn't just my team that was able to utilize her and the benefit of her evolving with us and really getting things done. It was multiple team members that were able to learn from her past experiences and still share them with us. So it helped us be much more efficient in the end, and we still have that wave with us as well. She's just transitioned into a different role at this point.
great. And yeah, as far as the results are concerned, so I've heard a couple things. You opened up a new line of business, commercial auto. You're able to plug people in that maybe were at maybe a senior level position to where they were, and downshifting into roles and helping to mentor and bring other staff on board quickly as you're transitioning into a new business, a new program, whatever you want to call it. Different use cases there, but it's pretty much like the same thing. So that sounds like it was really instrumental for you guys to really lower that risk and then drive the business forward. You said much more efficient. Is there any analysis you've done on that besides that high level thought process? Like it saved you, months of ramping up, some things like that, some harder numbers. If you have them, great. If you don't, it's okay.
That the specific numbers, no, I don't have, but I believe that the ROI of not having to bring someone in from the start and train them, when you know training can take 6 months, a year in some cases, especially if they're inexperienced folks. So the ROI on speed for us to market, the ROI on speed to transitions, I think that's some of the biggest pieces that I've never quantitatively put numbers around, but it also has where I see it qualitatively is I've never wanted to open a full-time role for those positions because I am so happy and relieved that we have the right people in place right now for that, and they happen to be WAHVE team members.
That's awesome. And yeah, so that basically you answered the question because 3 to 6 month ramp up time could be priceless, right? And a lot of these markets getting out of the gate early, being a leader in the space, and really adding to your portfolio to better support your clients. That all goes, a long way in, your growth and what you guys are trying to accomplish. So I think that's, perfect. Your answer makes so much sense to me. That's very helpful to us to know that. Final thing, kind of as we wrap up here, any final thoughts, reflections, recommendations to others that may be thinking about working with us, and any advice or hesitation for people, the people that are hesitating, any advice for them that would just say, just whatever you'd like to say with there. Anybody that's hesitating, just to maybe a little bit of encouragement from your experience.
Yes. Yes, I definitely recommend WAVE to anyone who is looking for an experienced person or a seasoned person that can step in and really own that role. There should be no fear of the fact that these are vintage people not being able to be just as capable or even more capable or efficient than some newer employees that may come along. And I've actually found over time that because they've experienced so many life changes and so many changes in the workforce, that change management is almost easier with a population that has more experience because they've lived through it. And they can actually be some of the biggest proponents of change management. Even though they're not employees, they're on our team. And so when something new comes in, they can say, "Oh, this has happened before. This is fine. We'll be fine. Nothing's going to change." And that has been probably surprising to me, but it's been really exciting too. I wouldn't hesitate to recommend anyone to use WAVE. It has been truly a phenomenal experience for our company, and we plan to use them continuously through the acquisitions we've been through.
Well, thank you, Michaela, for all that. Thank you for being a valued partner, client, and for just working with us on this program because we think it's important. Everybody's a winner. These waves went out because we're finding them as they're shifting these last chapters a way to give back to the market and help our market grow. So I thank you so much for your time today, and we appreciate working with you.
Yes, absolutely. I think you hit on the mentorship part that I don't know if I hit on enough, so I will hit on that again. One of the benefits we found from the waves is that they are able to mentor our younger generation of insurance professionals, and they don't even know they're doing it, but they are. And that is a neat trait that I hadn't expected.
Well, awesome. There's all these side benefits of working together in a collaborative environment, and it all starts with that experience, working together, finding the right cultural fit, and letting everybody benefit from the cross pollination of this knowledge for now, not only for now, but where you guys are going to take your organization as you continue to transform and lead. And thanks so much.
Absolutely.